morning. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Be Well at Coast webinar series. This is a collaboration of Orange Coast, Golden West, Coastline colleges, as well as the District Wellness Committee. Before we begin today, we have a little bit of housekeeping. I'd like to point out that everybody is muted. However, we do encourage your questions. At the very bottom of the screen, you see a chat feature. So please feel free to type in your questions throughout the presentation today, and Kathy will answer your questions at the end. Your questions are not anonymous. However, if you email or you chat Rebecca or myself, you can do it anonymously. Additionally, these are recorded, so they will be available at a later time. So if you would like to review it, or you know somebody that would like to watch it, we are going to make them available through Cornerstone to view. Our next session is next Thursday. We will have them all the way through the second week of July, these webinar series, and so the next one is June 11th. Also, they all are from 11 to 12. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce Kathi Burns. Kathi is our special guest, and she's a board-certified professional organizer. Kathi is the founder of Organized and Energized. Her tips have been featured in Oprah Magazine, Real Simple, and Good Morning America. Today, Kathi will show you simple techniques to create systems that will help you embrace the changes in your job and your life that you are experiencing right now. Again, Kathi will be taking questions at the end of her presentation, so feel free to add them to the chat anytime to her talk. The title of Kathi's talk is Shift Happens, and this might be an understatement, right? Thank you, Kathi.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very, very excited to present this to you. I want to answer all of your questions and hopefully provide some tips to help you take control and feel a little bit better about everything that's going on in the world right now. So question number one is, how can we embrace change with grace? How can we be graceful and fluid and flexible as we go through all this crazy times? The first thing is to realize that change is natural. Change happens every single day of our life. And it helps you to really kind of think about, how do I handle change personally? What's my default mechanism? And once you kind of understand how you embrace change or don't embrace change or resist change, it will help you take better control. And right now we're going to explore the subtle ways that you can take control through this situation. You're going to learn how to get more done in less time. We all want to do that, right? We're going to learn how to embrace change and be more optimistic about it, using the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, and actually create better practices that you can implement every day of your life so that you can declutter and be in more control, and create systems around your stuff so you'll have more free time and develop that letting go muscle, right? So we'll talk about that a little bit more. So the question is, at the top of the session, is, how do you actually physically handle change? I'm going to help you figure it out. We all have a personal default reaction, right? And we're going to explore the typical patterns of the reaction and show you how you can change your normal reaction into other ways that might help you move forward more gracefully. Okay, we all have a little bit of this in each of us. We have a resistor tendency, we have a resigner tendency, and we have an embracer tendency. Betty the resistor, we're going to call her Betty, she's a holder-oner. She's unhappy, she's frightened, she's unable to move forward. She feels like a victim. She's angry. She's stuck in the past. She's the one that probably is driving down the road at the beginning of this whole thing, shaking her fist, honking her horn, and just being out of control and resisting everything that's happening. So you might have a little bit of that in you. I know I had a little bit of that in me at the beginning of this all. Then we have John the resigned. John is the insecure. He's the Eeyore among us. He's the one that's doom and gloom. He's fatalistic. He's depressed. He's the one that's taken all the toilet paper and now probably taking all the freezer storage chests at the same time. So he doesn't feel powerful. So he's hoarding and he's grabbing and taking it all into himself. And he's resigning to the process with a very sad attitude. You might have some of that in you. I know I went out and bought a 50-pound bag of rice. So I was doing a little bit of that Johnness as well. Then we have Michael the embracer. Michael's the one who was the first guy wearing the smiley mask. Okay, he didn't just wear a regular mask, he wore a smiley mask because he was excited. He had all these fresh ideas that were happening and he was creating new routines for himself. He felt the challenge to expand and he felt there's new opportunities. He actually didn't mind. He's the one who's giving everybody all of the sterilization things for people who didn't have it. He was embracing this. And, I had some of that in me. Some of all three of these people in me. And if you think about how you've reacted, you've probably all been handling it with a little bit of each of these. The question is, which one is at the foremost of your action and reaction during this time? Everything's been happening in the world. So just give it a thought and say, have I been resisting? Maybe I just resigned and went to bed and got bummed out for a day? Or have I been embracing and saying, this is a chance to expand and change things around in my life? You are the only one who can control how you think. And, again, is it half full? Is it half empty, right? You've heard about all this, but I absolutely know that if you change your thoughts, you can change your life. You can, see what's going to happen and take control of the situation. If you change your thoughts, you change your mind. Now, this is the thing. Change happens every single day. Some days more than others, right? Some years more than others. Goodness sakes, this year's brought massive change. So have you been feeling afraid, inspired, terrified, or just simply exhausted? Change, the one thing about change is it requires flexibility and it requires energy. The best thing you can do is shift your mood around everything that's going on around you, because guess what? It's not what you do, it's how you do it. It's not what you think, it's how you think it. Mother Earth is a fine example of change. Mother Earth changes and embraces change every single season. It might help to take a look at what's happening right now in Mother Nature. Seasons come and seasons go every year. Mother Nature never stops changing. And the only constant thing in life is change. I'm sure you've heard that. Mother Earth is a harbinger to all that. This is something that I find super exciting. The canals in Venice, I'm sure you've heard about this. The dolphins have returned. The swans, after 100 years, are back in the canals. This is so exciting. Mother Nature is taking back control of areas that we have laid waste to. Now that there's not any pollution in the canals, everything's starting to thrive. The turtles in India are coming back by the thousands, probably the hundreds, thousands. There are turtles laying eggs all over the world that have never been laid in those parts. So Mother Nature is changing and bouncing back and reacting in a very, very positive way. We are part of nature. We can do the same thing. I don't know if you've noticed this, something really interesting to me. In my canyon, all the leaves are falling in massive amounts. And what's interesting is that usually the leaves are already cast off by this point. We're spring going into summer. It's June. Hopefully it's going to be summer soon here in sunny Southern. But I've noticed that nature is releasing more and more and more. Some of my neighbors have been saying, hey, have you heard that there's more birds? There's more birds, there's more babies, there's a lot more of everything that's happening now. And Mother Nature is accelerating to embrace the new paradigm. You might ask, well, who am I and why am I here talking about this? Besides being a professional organizer, before that, I've explored 7 different careers. Before I was an organizer, I was a licensed boat captain because I wanted to get paid to be out on the ocean. And what happened as I was going into the ocean is I would take a duffel bag. In that duffel bag were my bare necessities. And when I had it on board, they had to be completely organized and optimized so I could find my stuff very quickly. When I would return back to shore after being abroad and at sea for a while, I would come into my apartment and realize that none of this stuff even mattered to me. It didn't matter. So I would go through a big purge. This is way before I was an organizer. I would realize that none of the, there's like a couple things that had momental value to me, but most of the stuff I would just shrug, because after you're away from your stuff, you realize that it's not really that important. Then after I was a licensed captain, I actually became a travel writer. And I was on the road 40 out of 52 weeks a year, living out of a suitcase this time instead of a duffel bag. Again, I would realize that none of my encumbrances and none of my possessions were really that important to me. They didn't really matter. So when I decided I was switching careers again, I did a lot of soul searching and exploration and trying to figure out, what should I do when I grow up? Well, guess what? I realized that I love change. Can you tell? I embrace change. And I realized at the same time that not that many people like change. In fact, a lot of my clients were very scared of it. So what I do really as a professional organizer is I help people change and move through change with grace. That's why I love this presentation, because there are so many ways that you can change with grace and embrace it. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about. But enough about me. Let's talk about time. Because we only have an amount of time on this presentation, right? Time is finite. That's the one thing that you can't make any more of. Time is time. You can make more money, but you can't make more time. So what are you going to do to protect your time and have more free time? Well, you can get organized. One way to take control of your time is to be organized and create systems. The average person loses 30 minutes every single day searching for things that are lost. And I know you folks are probably a little bit above average. So the question is, how much time do you waste looking for things that you own, that you know that you own, but you cannot find? The average, if you say 30 minutes, and that's average, and I know some of you are probably above average, that's 3.5 hours a week we waste through disorganization. So one way to get more time is to get organized. And you can observe the time that you spend on the details in your life. If you take control of your time and you can take control of your space and your thought process, you'll have more free time, you'll have more happiness, and you'll have more freedom. I applaud you because right now you're investing in yourself by being on this webinar. And I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm so honored that you're here, and I'm so happy. You should feel very proud that you're here right now trying to figure things out. And getting organized will save you time and money. Well, let's talk about the new normal. It's the most important thing now to create systems to support your new work routines and to create new lifestyle. Everything's in flux, right? Everything's changed. So what is your new normal and how are you going to change that? Abe was super smart. Abe said this. He's my favorite guy. 1 hour preparation saves me 8 hours of perspiration. It's been proven that at least it's a 3 to 1. If you spend 1 hour creating a system, you will save 3 hours later. Abe was a workaholic. He had several careers. He embraced change. He was a boatman. He was a store clerk. He was a surveyor, a militia soldier, a student, lawyer. He served on the Illinois legislature, and of course he served as our loving president. The way that he was able to do all of this through his whole entire life was he is totally organized. He is known for systems within systems within systems. So if you can create systems, you'll have the availability also to change and rock and roll. And if you want to be president of something someday, you can. So what do I know about change? After serving 17 years in the field working with clients, I know that it's easier than you think it is. One small, slight shift in your mental attitude or your environment will lead to a larger than life result. I know this to be true. And I know it because I've helped several clients get unstuck. You know, they've released either whatever's holding them back, whether it's clutter, maybe it's old habits, maybe it's old thought systems, maybe it's just being disorganized or having systems that are broken. Changes happen. This lady right here, my client, she was a very accomplished graphic designer who worked from her home. She really wanted a life mate. She really wanted someone to share her time and her space with. Well, when she hired me and I came into her place, I realized there was no room for a guy. In fact, there was no room for anybody but herself. She had a completely stocked to the brim. It wasn't ugly. It wasn't, you know, a terrible environment. It was actually very beautiful, but there was no empty space. So we worked together, and main thing, we worked in her master bedroom, and I looked in her closet. Her closet was this giant floor to floor, you know, wall to wall, floor to ceiling closet. There was zero room in that to grow. There was zero room for her to bring anything new into her life. So we started purging down her wardrobe. And as a stylist, that's easy too for me, because it's not just, have you not worn it for a year? It's like, why are you wearing this? It's not the right color, or you should be wearing this. It's perfect for you. So we cleared out her closet, and we left intentionally room in one side empty for something, right? Also, when we got to her bedside table, she had two. They were both full to the brim and overstacked with books and other stuff. We cleared one side of the bed and left an alarm clock up there and an empty drawer. And we created space, see, for things to move into her life. Less than a year later, she found the guy. Ironically, she moved to Denver with the guy. So clearing her life helped. It was a complete success story of her intentionally making space for what she wanted. This next gentleman was a dentist. He had his own private practice. He was working so much that he had no time for his art or his family. He was a jigsaw puzzle maker, which I've never met one of those. And I don't know if you realize, most dentists are artists. I find this out after the fact, that all my dentist clients are artists in some return, which is interesting to me. Anyhow, he really wanted a better life for himself. And we worked together, and he had gone through several, all sorts of testing and meditation groups and support groups and counseling. And he figured that, hey, if I can change the clothes that I'm wearing and change the way that I look, I might be able to shift somehow. Well, guess what? We got him a new wardrobe. We got rid of all of his old clothes. He hadn't bought clothes for like 30 years. Put him into a new environment within himself, which was his external environment of his clothes. Less than a year later, he had sold his practice, and now he's working as a private dentist, civilian in the Navy. Cush hours. He gets off at 3 o'clock. He now has prize ribbons from the fair for his artwork and his photography. He has more time to spend with his family and his creativity, right? So he's really found a way to shift into a new paradigm for his life. That's another success story. This young couple, they had a very small condo, and they were pregnant, and they really wanted to buy a home. So what we did, they didn't really own that much stuff because they were in a small apartment, but we acted as if they were moving. We downsized and systematized and got everything kind of grouped together with systems within their life. And then boom, they bought their home. Oh, I don't know. It's been maybe 5 or 6 years. They have a toddler running around, and they're in their new place, and they're happy. That all happened because they acted as if they were moving and downsized appropriately. You know, there's nothing, even if you don't want to sell your house or move, it will help you to add space and get rid of all the fluff within your life. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. Everyone can thrive right now. Once you learn how to let go, flex your letting go, you will be able to move forward. You will have much less stuff to hold you back. At this point, you might be feeling a bit overwhelmed, right? It's like, well, that all sounds good, but I'm overwhelmed. I have no idea where to start. And, you know, you will change no matter what. The question is, how are you going to change? Well, you can take control because you've been pushed into massive change right now. And you can take control and begin on your own. If you don't know where to start and would like to feel in more control, just get started. It doesn't matter where you begin as long as you do begin. I tell people all the time, if you want to start decluttering, start with your sock drawer. Let's make it easy, because guess what? You don't have much emotional tie around your socks, hopefully, if you do start someplace else. But most people, we're not emotionally invested with our socks. We can easily go through the sock drawer, get rid of the lonely soldiers, so to speak, get rid of the ones that fall off and the elastic's gone. Organize your sock drawer, make some space and make some system within your sock drawer. It's an easy thing to do. And guess what? Once you do it, you'll feel more masterful and you'll actually be motivated to go further into maybe more difficult situations. So take control and start somewhere, decluttering and creating systems in your life. Systems and balance and life work is really critical for you to be happy. You know, you have a life to live, to be able to live your life on your own terms and not be reactionary. When your life is out of balance, you're reactionary and you're exhausted and you're unable to work effectively. So creating that balance between work and life, right now, all of you are going through it. I know you are. How have you adjusted it? How have you created space for life when your work is in your life now, right? The first place to start is to start by letting go. Let go of preconceived notions of what your life was like. Let go of preconceived notions of what your life is now. Start letting go of the things that are not serving you, that are making you stuck. You know, maybe you're resisting, maybe you're reacting, maybe you're not being proactive and embracing, right? So letting go is a muscle, and the more you use it, the stronger it becomes and the easier it is for you to let go. Here's a staggering one, right? The average home has 300,000 things in it. 300,000 items. Now, I know you're above average, so you probably have a little bit more. This is the thing. With 300,000 possessions, do you think it might be important to have systems to keep them organized and to keep them together, and a system for getting rid of the things that you no longer need? Well, a way to start with getting rid of things you no longer need is, ask yourself, do I love this? So when you're picking something up, do I love it? Do I need it? Do I even use it? Because guess what? Anything that you don't use, need, or love equals clutter. Clutter should be gone. You know, the worst reason to hold on to anything, if you don't love it, need it, or use it, is because you feel guilty to get rid of it. That's the worst reason to keep something, is through guilt. So ask yourself those 3 questions as you go through the clearing process, which I hope you're motivated to do this weekend after this talk. Do you love it? Do you need it? Do you use it? If the answer is no, it means you can move it on. Here's an easy way to declutter your life. I would like you to open up and start a donation central space in your house. I always recommend 2. I have one in my hall closet, and anything that I find in my house that I don't need, like I have 4 measuring cups the other week, and I'm like, why do I have 4 1-cup measuring? Got rid of 2 of them for sure, dumped them in the donation bin. And also having one in my master closet helps keep me honest, because as a stylist, I love my clothes. We all have our things, not shoes, but clothes. So if I'm in the closet and I'm trying on something and I decide I'm not going to wear it, I have to ask myself, well, do I love it? No. Do I need it? No. So it can go right into the donation bin. So if you have donation bins set up in your home, you now have a donation station, right? So another thing that you need to do once these are set up is to know where your closest donation station is so that you can take the stuff away. Hopefully it's more than the drop box, hopefully it's just a station. Now, there have been a lot of stations closed, but they are reopening now. And I know if you're like most people in the world right now, you've spent a good time getting rid of some stuff in your life. And the good news is that now donation stations are open. So learn how to let go by setting up these donation stations within your house. Children learn this stuff. They will watch you let go. If you have children, if you have more than one, you probably have a letter goer and a holder honor. It's never too young to teach both of them how to let go with grace and embrace the things that they don't want by moving them forward into the world. Teaching your children where their nations go helps them turn into letter goers. Children are the biggest givers in the world. I have had so many amazing stories about my kid clients. My youngest child client was 5, and she had a known a known stuffed animal habit. And once she found out that the stuffed animals were going to go to the police to put in back of their cars into stations for, you know, children in crisis, she let go of so much there. So children are great letter goers. And if you have one that's resistant, it really will help you once things are back open again to take them into a Salvation Army or a Goodwill. Show them what happens with their stuff. Show them explain how many people have jobs because of what they're doing, and how other children can have toys that couldn't have, you know, afforded to have the toys that they're giving to them. So it's never too young to teach the let go habit. One thing to remember too is the 80-20 rule. You know, only 20% of our stuff brings us any joy. As I told you, after I got off boats and went back to my apartment, there wasn't anything there that was really of any significance. So if you can start 80-20ing your life and eliminate all that stuff, you know, 80%, I'm telling you, is probably that you don't use, love, or need. If you can make yourself do that Pareto principle, you will at least get rid of 40%, I guarantee you, if you get real serious with yourself. So if you can 80-20 your life, you're going to be way better off. You're going to have more time for family and friends. You're going to be more happy. You're going to be less tired, less exhausted. Because if you don't take the time to do it, your possessions might end up possessing you, just like this man and his kids. Anyhow, you don't want your possessions to possess you. How do possessions possess you? They take your time, they zap your energy, they make you exhausted, and they remind you of things left undone. The first thing I'd like to talk about here for possessions is piles. So look around you right now. You're all at home, maybe, hopefully, watching this. Look around your room and your space right now and see what kind of piles you have. So a pile is going to represent one of 3 things guaranteed. You're either procrastinating about it, you know that it's there, but you're just not dealing, you know, you don't want to do it. You'll do it tomorrow. Or you're looking at it going, I don't even know what that pile is. I have zero idea of how it happened and what it is. Or you're just avoiding it. You're playing just shutting the door and leaving the pile as it is. Well, guess what? When you do that, piles are magical. If you have 2 or more objects piled on top of each other, they will always create more. You can leave the room and come back, and in a half hour, I tell you, there's going to be more on that pile. This is why, as professional organizer, we're always saying, keep things vertical. Don't put stuff in piles, because we know that piles are magical mystery piles. They will increase themselves with 0 effort. So if you can get rid of your piles, you will have more free time. A pile is a constant reminder of things that are left undone. Piles zap your energy quickly. So get rid of your piles. That's all I can say about that. And take control. Now I'm going to show you how to create some systems within your life right now that you're really going to need able to move forward and to embrace this new paradigm of school that's not school, of work that's not work, of all new things that are new and all the old fell off, right? So we're going to talk about how to self-motivate yourself, how to handle your space, and how to handle your time. Now, I don't have a lot of time because it's only a 45-minute with 15 minutes. I'd like to give you a free Organize Your Life guidebook that has 6 steps to help you get organized. So it has systems within there that will help you be reinforcing of this conversation and give you even more detail. So what you'll have to do is just go to kathyburns.com at the end and you can download it. Let's talk about self-motivation. Okay, your schedule's changed. Self-discipline is yours to create. Right? You're the only one that can create self-discipline in your life. You can take advantage of this time. You can learn new skills. In fact, I'm sure a lot of you have learned new skills that you had no idea you were going to learn. But you can also do more. I immediately enrolled in 4 classes because I was excited about having this time and space to learn more stuff. Another thing that you can do is really learn. In order to self-motivate, you need to know your body ebbs and flows. Now, if you've been the kind of person that just goes to a regular schedule, you really haven't had time to figure out when I'm up and when I'm down. When do I have energy? When do I not? When you acknowledge when you have this cycle in your life, you can create more energy by honoring that, and you can add space to your schedule to give yourself more time when you're in a slow, sloppy thought process. And you can design your workday that works for you. What I found by listening to a lot of the responses on the surveys that you brought in is that most of the time, as long as you're getting your job done in a timely manner, it doesn't matter if you're doing it at 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. If you're a sleepyhead, 8 a.m. might not be your best work anyhow, and 8 p.m. is. A lot of people, as long as there's not a major deadline that something has to be done by a set time, I think that people are really becoming much more flexible as long as you're getting your job done. So this is your perfect time to kind of figure out, when am I up? When am I down? When's the best time to do that, big presentation? When's the best time to do my deep thought process? It might not be normal work hours. And I don't think that anybody cares, as long as you're hitting your deadline and turning it in, that you did it from midnight to 2 a.m. because you're a night bug. I don't think it really matters that much. And this is a time for you to motivate and create a workday that works for you. I'd like you all to set a big goal, because this is the time to figure out, what do you want? What makes you happy? Become clear on your personal priorities. You're now at home oftentimes more than you have been forever, and you can start by saying yes to things that make you excited, and more importantly, no to things that feel like obligations that don't help you move forward. We have been in a rut. I guarantee I was in a rut. You all were in a rut when we were just doing our regular 8 to 5 or seeing clients or whatever you were doing with your schedule. This is the perfect opportunity to take a look at the goals that you have in life, and what's your big goal in your life, okay? Think about it, because you can now get your life in order with different priorities. This is the ideal time to reinvent and create a life that has less stress and more freedom. Everything's already in flux, so seize the day and create more time so that you can move forward to more important goals. It's yours for the taking right now, gang, so go for it. Let's talk about space, because, okay, a lot of us are working from home. Some don't have offices, some have offices, and this is what I say about that. The most important thing about managing your space is to have all your necessary tools within arm's reach. You need to create systems to hold those tools. You have to set up a dedicated work area of some sort. And if worst to worst, change directions. If someone's chitter-chattering in the side, move your chair around, either close the door or face a new direction. Now, what happens if you don't have the tools within arm's reach? This is a study that's really quite interesting to me. NAPO, my National Association of Professional Organizers, we decided to figure out, where does time go, right? And how does time get wasted? Well, guess what? If the average US executive that gets up and leaves their desk and decides that they need to go get something, whatever, extra staples or Rima paper, they're gone about 8.5 minutes before they return to their desk, because they get stopped by the coffee pot or whatever, or by someone chitter-chattering in the hall. Well, you've all said that this is an excellent time because you're no longer distracted by employees or coworkers coming in on your time. But guess what? The average person with the home office, if they get up to go get something, they are gone for over 18 minutes. 18 minutes has now left the building, right? That's almost a half hour is wasted because they had to get up and go find something that they did in their workspace. So with that in mind, we have the pet, we have the laundry, we have the spouse, we have the kids, whatever. There's a lot of distractions when you get up and leave your workspace. So with that in mind, you want to protect your space with your life and make sure that you know that when you leave, if you don't have your tools there, you could get side railed. So you want to consider designing your space ergonomically. You know, I always tell all my clients who are working virtually, the most important thing is to get a good chair. I don't really care about much else, but a good chair is going to save your back and your neck area. It's also going to help you stay engaged more with your work. You want to protect and claim your space. Now you want to arrange your work area so you have success. That will save you time. Regardless of what your work situation is, it will pay off in spades to have your work area set up with intention. Now, I'd like to talk and help those of you who might be struggling to create a workspace and give you some solutions. If you're not one who is blessed to have a home office or a spare bedroom that immediately turned into a home office and you don't even have that space, this is what you can do. You can create a portable office. And I've done this so many times over the years for clients who do not have the space, they don't have the luxury of having a room, right? They can set up their own office on a rolly cart. I like the one on the left because it has steps. You can put the laptop on the top. You can have the top drawer for your pencils and pens and staples and all that good stuff. And then you have a couple other areas to get yourself organized. If you're one that has a lot of papers, which probably you don't at this point since you're not even grading physical papers, you don't necessarily need the wheelie cart with the file system. Beforehand, when we were more paper intensive, that would have been a great solution. But this is the thing. That's your office. So you have that, you have your chair that's good, and you can just go right ahead and have an office. And when you're off of work, you can just stash it back into the hall closet or wherever you had it stashed. So there is a way to create a portable work area pretty easy with minimal cost. Just get yourself a wheelie cart and have everything that you need to do your job on it or within it. I love this. This slide is my favorite. It always makes me smile because I had a CEO who ran 5 campuses in Ohio, and he had a great sense of humor. And when I was working with him, I'm like, what are all those hats doing up there on the top of your credenza? He goes, well, let me tell you, darling, when I'm putting out someone else's fire, I will throw on my fireman's hat. And when I'm getting ready to address a board of directors and I'm prepping for that, I will put on my captain's hat so I can sail this ship properly. And when I'm in deep thought process and I'm doing projects, I put on my construction hat, and it helps me get into the frame of mind of the project that I'm doing. And he taught me so much working with this gentleman, setting up his systems. He taught me so much. I love the idea of the hats. If you want to have some fun with your family, get some hats. Bare minimum, find a way to let people know that you are not to be disturbed. Get a flag that you can put on your computer. See, this one actually attaches to your keyboard. I have another client who got really creative, and he had a little miniature US flag that he could raise and lower, and when it was raised, the kids and the spouse would know not to disturb him. So whatever you want to do, you want to have some type of nonverbal communication tools to keep the distractions away. Okay, you have to set boundaries for your work right now. And I know you're all probably shaking your head, yeah, I need some kind of boundaries. Well, these are some ideas. Have fun with it and embrace it and create something that's really going to work for you and your family. So let's talk about time. You know, there are different segments of the day that happen within each day. There's the morning, there's the noon, there's the lunch, there's the afternoon, there's the post-work. So if you can create intentions for each segment of each day, you'll be able to get more done. I challenge you to tackle your important projects first. And the most important thing is do not check emails before you plan your day. Now, I know a lot of you are administrative assistants, and a lot of you might think that you have to check emails before you plan, but guess what? If you have to check emails by a certain time, say you have to be in your inbox by 8, I say you need to get into your planning at 7:30. Whatever you do, don't check emails before you plan, because guess what? The only thing an email is a call to action. It's someone that wants you to do something. They want you to click. They want you to respond. They want you to tackle a project. Whatever it is, there's not an email in your life that you'll find in your inbox that someone doesn't want you to do something. So don't be reactionary and jump in reactionary checking emails before you do your planning for the day. Because otherwise, your day will just disappear. And at the end of the day, you'll wonder what even happened. Another thing you can do is to take regular breaks. Now, some of you, I don't know, probably with your school system, the IT people, when you were at work, scheduled a little ding ding to make yourself get up and move and stretch around at the top of the hour. I know a lot of my corporations, Simpra did it and the Port of San Diego did it. There's a lot of, the IT people like to go in there and say, get up and stretch. So you want to do the same thing. You want to act as if you're working in a corporation, even though you're working from home. And that will help you a lot to just get up and stretch and move around. If you find yourself just doing a bunch of nothing, definitely it's time to get up and stretch and move around and then sit back down again. Another thing you can do is you can schedule your tasks like with like. In other words, if you have to make a bunch of phone calls, it'd be really fabulous to do your phone calls all in one fell swoop. If you have a bunch of Zoom meetings that you need to schedule them all in a row, but please leave time in between, at least 15 minutes, preferably 30 minutes, to recap the Zoom meeting that just happened and regroup for the next session. So leave yourself some time. Now, a way that you can actually delegate and determine what's good and what's bad in your life, because I've been talking about shifting your priorities, right, is to make a responsibility list. And a way to do this is to write down every single thing that you feel that you're responsible for. Go back on that list and circle the things that you have to do, right? Underline the things that you hate to do and highlight the things that you love to do, maybe with a pretty little pink or yellow highlighter. Then what you do after you have that list, whatever's circled, you have to make sure that you have a set time in your schedule to do it, because these are the must-dos. Whatever's underlined but not circled, hey, maybe you can delegate. Maybe you can pass it on to someone else who really likes doing that kind of stuff. And whatever's highlighted, you want to make sure that you include that in your schedule, because we all need time for joy in this situation. When you take responsibility for the things in your life, either that you're going to do or delegate or that you love, you're going to feel more in charge and you're going to be able to be more effective. Because again, you want to plan your day before it plans you. You are the only person who can control how you spend your time. You're in charge here. It's your life, it's your schedule, it's your work routine. You're the only one that can do it. Now, let me tell you a secret. A lot of my executives and a lot of my admins, they never get to their big projects. They just never, there's always that project in the corner that they're never able to accomplish. What I can tell you is if you tackle that big project, that's where you get the raise or the promotion or the move, right? That's how you move forward in your career and actually in your life as well. So the only way that you can tackle a big project, in my opinion, is to schedule a 4-hour block every single week, specifically for the big things in your life. It takes 4 hours to do anything. When I work with clients one-on-one, I always schedule a minimum 4-hour block because I know that that's what it takes to tackle anything big and anything major, to make any type of progress. Because the first hour, you're warming up. Hours 2 and 3, you're jamming out. Hours 4, you're getting closure and kind of wrapping it up. So if you want to tackle a big project in your work or in your life, make sure that you have a 4-hour segment every single week for big projects. One of my clients, one of my corporations, the marketing department had so many meetings that they never even had a single day where they had a 4-hour block of time. What we were able to do was to implement on Wednesday afternoons, no meetings, 0 meetings. And guess what? They got so many projects done that they were accelerated through the changes that they wanted to control on their campuses. And wow, everybody was just amazed at how much they can get done when they did not have to go to meetings full time every day. And on Wednesdays was their precious time to tackle the big projects. So with that in mind, stage your next week for success. I want you to end your week by getting your thoughts together and pre-planning for the week ahead. And, it helps you keep your focus on your priorities. Otherwise, at the end of the week, you're going to be wondering, oh, what did I do? What did I get done? Remember, the Pareto principle also applies to your work. 20% is what's going to give you the big results. 80% is fluff. I know for a fact that you have figured out through this change. I know I really have figured out what's important to me and what's not, because I've been able to step back and kind of analyze, wow, where have I been spending my time? What have I been doing? Maybe I don't even need to do that anymore. Things are falling out of my life as quick as I can think of them. And only 20% of what you own matters. Only 20% of what you do matters. 80% is not significant. So think about what 20% is good for your job, what 20% is good for your life, what 20% of what you do is good for your happiness. Really think long and hard about this, because I guarantee you, you've already probably set aside some things. Set aside more things that don't help you move forward. This is the time to change. This is the time to try new concepts, to practice new processes, to reinvent, hopefully with enthusiasm, because it's your life, it's yours for the taking. If you find more ways to give back and release old patterns, you're going to accelerate through life. And please, whatever you don't use, need, or love, donate it. There are so many people that need you have that you don't need or love. Move it forward. Because when anything that you release into the world will come back to you tenfold over. And just like Mother Nature, when you let go, you will grow. This is your opportunity to reinvent your life, just like Mother Nature is reinventing her life right now before our eyes. She's releasing more leaves. The swans have returned. The turtles are laying more eggs. This is a time of massive change and shifts. So grab the bull by the horns and take control of your own life. You know, the most simple changes bring larger than life results. I know this to be true. You can make one small, slight shift in your environment, and it's going to bring massive amounts of change. And if you have children or you have spouses, be the change that you want to see in them. People hire me sometimes and they're like, oh, you got to help my spouse. He's all cluttered. I'm like, you need to change first. Be the change you want to see, and it will have a ripple effect on your life. Again, we have this free guidebook. I would love for you all to take advantage of it. Just download it at kathyburns.com, Kathi with an I, Kathi Burns.com. Get your free guidebook. And, now I would like to really open it up for questions. And we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping now as well, so that we can talk about our next webinars.
Thank you, Kathi, so much. That was fantastic. I really love plan your day before it plans you. That was great advice. So the Be Well at Coast webinar series, like we had mentioned earlier, will be continuing next week on June 11th. You can see the list right here. You can sign up for any of them via Cornerstone. If anybody needs this flyer sent to them again, I think the HR directors have been sending it out regularly, but if you need it, contact either your HR director or myself, and we'll be happy to send it out to you. Right now, we are going to go ahead and take some questions. Let me look here. Rebecca says, let's see. Okay, our first question here is, when you were talking about getting rid of stuff, what about the sentimental stuff?
Well, the sentimental stuff, we all have some that we need to keep. And when I talked about coming back to my apartment after sailing, there were a few things that were very important to me that were sentimental. But what you have to realize is that you can't hold on to everything that's sentimental. Now, some of us are more sentimental than others, but I would welcome you to create a bin and make an agreement with yourself about how much is enough that you're going to save. In other words, I've decided for myself that I have one big bin, and that's all my memories and sentimental stuff from my whole life, and that's all that I need. So you need to make an agreement with yourself about how much is how much is enough, how much is too much, and then create that container, right, where you can make choices and put the sentimental stuff inside that's very, very important. You can't keep it all.
I see another question, Kathi. Can you get a tax break with donations?
Absolutely. In fact, I welcome, if you're going to do a lot of donations, there's a program called Intuit. It's deductible, made by Intuit. It's called It's Deductible. I love that program. You can put it on your computer, and you can go through and list every single item that you're donating, and they will give you the tax value. You have to buy it every year. It's like $20 a program because prices change. But yeah, you can write off all that, and it's amazing how much you can write off. Back in the day, a men's suit that was in great shape was worth $250 of a tax write-off. So they ask you, is it fair condition, good condition, excellent condition, and then they value it appropriately. It does stand up for any type of tax audit. So I would welcome the easiest, most effortless way to get the maximum donations is to buy that it's deductible program from Intuit. That'll keep you, on the straight and narrow, and you can itemize every single thing before you give it. And then obviously keep the donation receipt after you turn it in. Because what happens whenever you turn in the donation receipt, they just say 5 boxes of household. They don't really itemize it. So if you want to get the maximum, use the It's Deductible program.
Okay, I just want to mention, Kathy, thank you very much for offering the free download of the book. That's very generous of you. So another question is, how do you get your spouse, which I think you started to talk about, how do you get your spouse on board with letting go? And will the slides be available on the recording to share with the family? And I think we know I don't know about the slides, but definitely the recording will be.
I am more than happy if you want to email me. When you go to kathyburns.com, you can email Kathi at Organize, and I'll slide deck. I'm more than happy to give it to you. In answer to the spouse thing, this happens all the time. I'm telling you, the wife will call, my husband's disorganized, the husband will call, my wife's a mess. And I always say, be the change you want to see. And it's so very important that you start doing your own organization process. A behind the scenes story, I had a husband and wife who both hired me for different things for different businesses. And then the wife, when I finished organizing her office, she said, this guy's driving me crazy. All this stuff on the top of my dresser, I just can't take anymore. He piles it there all the time. There's piles full time. I'm like, okay, Barbara, what we're going to do is we're going to go work in the bedroom and we're going to organize your space. And she's like, well, I don't have anything in my space. I'm not, I have nothing. I'm complete. Well, we got in there and there were a few things. There wasn't a lot, but we started organizing her things and clearing the bedside table. We found some stuff under the bed that, shouldn't have been there, some whatever. And as we're organizing, Howard walks in and says, hey, Kath, do you think you can help me clear the top of the bed, top of this dresser? I know it drives Barbara crazy. This happens more than that's just one of the 50 times that spouses have joined in, but you have to be the change you want to see. And especially if you have children, you need to start teaching them how to let go. Like I say, my youngest client is 5 and she learned how to let go very quickly. Children are givers. So be the change you want to see and get started on your own stuff. I know you have some.
So I have a question about distracting snacks. How do you avoid eating snacks? Do you have any tips for that or for wasting time?
Yeah, well, don't keep the snacks at your workstation. I can't tell you how many corporations I've been in where the main file drawer is the snack drawer. You don't want that to happen, especially now that we're all more sedentary. I mean, I'm sitting down more than I ever have because I'm not working in garages or whatever with my clients. So keep the snacks at bay. Don't have them within hand's reach. And something that I always say whenever I help clients organize their refrigerator is keep the healthy snacks at eye level. Keep carrots floating in a bowl of water right there. So when you open up the fridge, you've got the carrots right there and you've got the healthy stuff. Maybe you have celery and some peanut butter. Keep it all at eye level and put the snacks far, far away. And you can do a reward system. If you do find yourself not getting up, and you have that binger, you can set a binger to get yourself up like they do at corporate environments now at the top of the hour. That's when you can get up, go get one snack and come back. But remember, 18.5 minutes is the average time that you leave when you leave your desk and at home. So just be very mindful of what you're getting up to do.
Kathi, in addition to the 2 donation bins in the home, what additional home tips do you have for staying organized?
Well, you want to have everything have a home with a yard around it. And this is something I really didn't have time to go into, but you'll get it in the book, or the ebook. So what it is you want to create a home for everything. So in other words, if you have all of your markers and pens and pencils, they'll be in, in a container, they'll be all containerized, right? But you want to have a yard around the home. What I mean by that is you have a container with pens and pencils. It is not so stuffed that you can barely put the lid on. There's going to be room to grow. That's the yard around the home. What I find is when people create systems, so everything has to have a home, right? If you don't create a yard around that home, your system will break immediately. So you want to have everything containerized and systematized. You want to have like with like. So you want to have all your like things together. Take, for instance, an easy thing is things that bind. So I'll have a container that's things that bind, and that's going to be my staples, my paper clips, my rubber bands. These are all things that bind together, and they'll all be in one container. And it'll be called things that bind just because I think it's funny. And then you have things that stick and things that write. So you want to have homes for each type of item with a yard around it. You want to have room to grow. If you downsize and you get everything into a container and it can barely fit, you need to downsize some more or your system's going to break right away.
Kathy, I love that concept, yard around the home. I've never heard of it before. That's great. It's a good way to remember it.
I made it up.
How do you get your children on board without the tears?
There's letter goers and there's holder honors. Be the change you want to see. Show them that why you're doing what you're doing. If you have a holder honor, I really, really recommend that you take them to a Goodwill or Salvation Army. You arrange for a behind the scenes tour once you're able to do that. Show them the workers. Explain to them that person's taking it out of the car. This person is cleaning it up. This other person is labeling it. This other person is working the register. All these people have jobs because of that teddy bear that you gave. So explain to them, once children get it, they get it quick. In fact, they start getting rid of more than the parents really want. But when I'm working with them, they can't really squabble. They just have to let the children learn how to let go.
I have a tip that was sent here. It says that if for anybody that has Kaiser Insurance, right now they're providing a Calm app for 1 year for free, and it's highly recommended. So that's kind of a nice little tip.
Oh, Calm is great. And if you can schedule that at the top of the hour for 5 minutes, and while you're doing the Calm, you can move a little bit. Oh, that is brilliant. Thank you, Kaiser. I love Calm.
I think that is, unless somebody else, we have people that said thank you. What an excellent presentation, and I agree, it was excellent. Thank you, Kathy, so much.
Aw, thank you.
Do you have any closing tips for us?
No, it's just been a pleasure. And, all that I can say is this time is crazy. Take control of it on your own. Do what you have to do. If you feel out of control, let go of stuff. That's going to make you feel really empowered. I am a professional organizer, so I have to say that, but I guarantee you that you'll feel better if you can remove the fluff and the clutter from your life. So go forward, grab the day, create systems. Everybody's supporting you. And what I found in your environment right here with the CCCs is that you guys are so supportive of each other, even by just having this series, that if you find yourself not knowing what to do and not feeling empowered, go to your coworker and go to your manager and just express how you're feeling right now, because guess what? We're all in this together, and we're all facing some things that we just aren't sure how to deal with. So work together with each other, and you can get better and better and stronger and stronger. And, with that, I just like to say, go to kathyburns.com, download your book. I'm here for you. If you want my slides, go ahead and go Kathi at Organize and Energize, Kathi at Organize and Energize. I'm more than happy to give you the slide deck if that helps. And, good luck getting your people on board. You can do it.
I think so as well. I have to just share real quickly. A couple years ago, we had some construction, and so I was cleaning out my garage, And I have 2 boys, and so as they were growing up, I decided to, save their schoolwork and all of the different things. And I had the boxes, and so I called them both, and I said, "Okay, I'm cleaning this out. What do you want me to save?" And they both said nothing. So I said, "Okay, well, so much for sentimental boys." So sometimes they're not as sentimental as we think. I did save 1 box per boy, whether they want it or not. But
well, thank you for that. And that leads me to one more good point. We hold on to a lot of things. And as parents, we're more sentimental than our kids. Think about what you're holding on for your children, because I work with grandparents, parents, and children and grandchildren. And because mom kept it for 30 years, sometimes the kid feels they have to keep it for 30 years. So please go ahead, and it doesn't even mean anything to them. So you did good. You did really well to downsize your kids' stuff, because you don't want them to be stuck in guilt with stuff that you kept forever that they feel like they should now have to keep forever. And that's a great point, and I'm so glad you brought that up, and congratulations for doing that work. Eventually, when they have kids, their kids might be sentimental, and they might want that little box of stuff that you kept for them. So I honor that you kept a little, and I'm glad that you got rid of a lot.
Thank you.
Good job, Connie.
I just say all my stuff. No,
we're more sentimental than our kids, huh? That was a good tip, Kathy.
Yeah.
Now I have an excuse. I'm going to go throw everything away.
And you can give them a deadline too. If you have a holder on her and she's like, "No, don't get rid of anything," just say, "Okay, well, on such and such a date, I'm getting rid of it. So you have till this date. You have till Labor Day to come claim your possessions, if they're growing it out of the nest," because it's very convenient for us to hold on to our kids' stuff. It's very convenient for them. And they'll think, "Oh, mom will have it. She'll just keep it for me forever." So institute a deadline and be serious about it. Give them time to come claim what they want, and then it gets gone.
Great advice.
Great advice, yes. Thank you so much, Kathy.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure. I really, really enjoyed it.
And thank you to Connie Martin for finding you. She was quite a find. Thanks, Connie.
Oh yeah. I agree. I kept checking to make sure I was muted because I laughed so much.
Oh, you were seeing a few things that might be a little bit about you, huh?
Well, I love how piles magically grow. That explained a lot right there. Okay, that was helpful.
That was very helpful. Yes, I giggled.
I knew I wasn't doing it.
I am so baffled. I am so baffled about this pile thing, and it's so true. I don't know. I think there's little poltergeists that are piler guys. They come in and they do it. So anytime you have more than one thing lying on top of another thing, beware. Do not let that happen.
Yes, I am now. But usually my cat ends up on top of one of them as well. Like you had that picture too. You covered all bases as far as I'm concerned.
I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. There's still 42 participants, but if anybody has any questions after the recording, there's no problem in taking them. So
yeah, I'll be happy to answer any other questions that come in after the fact. So